All right. It is Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. It is time for another episode of Conversations with Cougars. And man, we got us a good one tonight. Class of 84, number 45. We got Kenneth Owens from San Antonio, Texas. Good evening, Kenneth. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on Action Wednesday. And I have my shirt on. Let me go ahead and show it off for you.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
There you go.
Always repping the colors.
There you go.
Always repping the school. Well, guys, for the last coming on 4 years, we've been telling the oral history of the Northview football program. And the guests who we have on are going to be former players, coaches, cheerleaders, trainers, managers, teachers, administrators, folks who had an impact on the program during the 41 years of our school. And these trips down memory lane are so much fun. And believe it or not, I don't know everybody who played. I'm getting to meet a lot of folks, but I certainly knew Kenneth back in the day. He was 2 years ahead of me, scared the crap out of me when I was playing JV, and he was leading one of the leaders on the defense for the varsity team. But I'm so glad to have caught up with him a few weeks ago in Dothan at Coaches Griffin and Johnson's Wiregrass Sports Hall of Fame. That was a fun night, wasn't it?
It sure was. I really enjoyed it. It ended very fast.
It did. It went by so fast. We had so many former players there, and I guess not that we would be surprised, but neither of the coaches stuck to their 6 or 7 minutes. They were limited for their speeches, but they were very entertaining. It was great to see everybody. Kenneth, tell folks what you're doing now in San Antonio. Bring them up to speed on what's going on in your life these days.
Okay. Good afternoon again. Action Wednesday. I've been a resident of San Antonio for about 11 years right now. And for the past 3, I've been working with a company called C2 Global. And the purpose that I have is to help folks who have been impacted COVID, low income, with college tuition. So I try to find ways to create money for them so they won't have so much out-of-pocket expense going to college, because I think we all know college can be very pricey, but you're also able to manage it in with a frugal lifestyle.
Well, that's a fantastic endeavor, and I know that you're finding some good for a bunch of folks, helping them out with their upper education. Kenneth, we got a couple of teammates who are already on board with us. We got Charles Bronson and we got Tim Whaley in the house. Hey, gentlemen, good to see y'all. Tim, let's take it way back. Kenneth, let's go back to middle school. Where did you grow up? What part of town, and what middle school did you go to, or was it a junior high when you were coming through?
No, it was a middle school. Beverly Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Middle School.
Mm-hmm. Which part of town were you in? What neighborhood?
Okay. I heard you talk about this before. I'm from Young America.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of athletes came out of Young America.
Oh my God.
A lot of them. And they keep you busy. Let me say that. They keep you busy. So I came out of Young America.
Kenneth, just the athletes in the 80s who lived in Young America could have fielded their own varsity sports team on their own, just your neighborhood.
Yes.
Throw out some of those names of those neighbors of yours on Young America.
Well, you already know one of them. He's my alum too. We all part of the same Northview Cougars. Jonathan Parker, Mr. Parker, go by the name of Woo Woo. Mr. Leo Butler.
Mm-hmm.
You see. Doug Jones came further out toward Bamerdale.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Ahmed and Pat Fitch.
Pat Fitch, Jerry Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. That's a few
now,
right there.
Growing up, did you have a particular sport that you enjoyed more than others, or did you just play all the sports depending on the time of the year?
The only sport my mother let me play was baseball.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was in fear of me getting hurt, And she felt like if I'm out in right field, I could run a ball down and catch it, and then I could swing a bat. So I never played any football until I got to the 9th grade.
Wow, that's
contact.
Wow.
Now I played street ball.
Well, sure,
touch and move your feet, but I didn't play any contact until the 9th grade.
Well, frankly, playing street football in your neighborhood with all those athletes, that's like playing regular organized ball, but maybe even harder because of all the athleticism. Now, was your household the type that you had to stay outside until maybe the street lights came on or mama rang a bell or something? You can't be in the house. Was that part of your childhood as well?
But no, my mother's a school teacher. She's the leader of the house. When the street lights come on, I came home.
Yeah.
And my neighbors knew that too. That was young kids like myself. And if I didn't see that light coming, they said, Kenneth, the light on. I said, yes, you're right. I got to go. So yes, the light was on and I was headed home.
Yeah, because as we all know, there were repercussions if you did not make it into the house. We got Tony Donaldson with us. Hey, Tony, good to see you, bud. I still need to get you on the show. Kenneth, what was it about playing football that you enjoyed as a kid? I don't mean all those wonderfully easy practices for Coach Griffin and John. I'm talking about truly, what was it about playing the sport of football that you enjoyed the most?
Gave me structure. Gave me an opportunity to exercise myself. Gave me an opportunity to talk to a diverse group of young folks like myself, and build on team. It's a team effort. I know we would, we're in Dothan for the 81-85 championship, but you think about it, Bernard, it's very hard to do. We look at it, I mean, you go through it and you all in the moment, but it's very, very hard to do what we did. But I really enjoyed the team effort.
Well, particularly your team, you were the class of 84, but you were certainly on that 81 state title team. That was only the 4th year of the school. And for the coaches to pull everybody together and frankly, as I've told you guys and mentioned on this show many times, I don't think it's even close that the 81 team was the best team Northview ever fielded. If you look at the record, if you look at how dominating the defense was, the fact that Dickey took over during the Crisp County game.
Yeah.
You could go on and on and on. But Kenneth, that was such a special year. And we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But what I want to talk about is you starting your organized football career. You're at Beverly. And does Coach Parrish and some of the coaches come over to start recruiting you guys in 8th grade? Did you know that you were coming to Northview and that football was in your future?
I did not. I ran track for Beverly. That was it. I ran a lot of track. And then I came to Northview and I tried out. And Coach Kirkland, I think Coach Tribute, and I tried out. And I'm going to say this, those practices were never easy. No, they was never easy. And don't be late.
And particularly down in that dust bowl where there was no airflow, there was no grass, and there sure wasn't any water to be had down there. But who of your buddies, or how was it you go from not playing organized football, but in 9th grade you tried out? What convinced you, or who convinced you that it was the thing for you to do?
Well, I always wanted to play, but my mother would not allow me to play. I'm going to say this, Bernard. I didn't wear any white sweat socks till I was an 8th grader, and that was mandatory for gym. So every sock I put on had a color to it. Red for red, blue, black. So I was always in a dress attire. I never had any sports, nothing, until 8th grade. And then I ran track, and I ran a lot of track. So, and then, of course, by you running track in middle school, you get to come to Northview to compete with the other kids for track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I had the opportunity to see the coaches. And then we might have talked a little bit. But yeah, that's how it worked out.
Is that when you were introduced to Coach Griffin?
I don't know when I was introduced to Coach Griffin. I know when I made it to the 10th grade, he smoked me. Coach Griffin wanted to find out, do you want to be here? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say this. I was hurting all over, but I was going this way and this way and this way. Yes, he worked us out.
Well, who were some of your 9th grade buddies? Who were some of the guys you hung out with back in the day?
Oh, the whole 9th grade class. Paul Johnson was a part of our 9th grade football team. Leo Woo, Reggie White, Marcus Solomon, I think Marcus Palmer. Yeah. I really didn't hang out with anybody. We just like a group. We were just, it just worked out for us, you know?
Well, it's, you know, the 4 middle schools back in the day, Honeysuckle, Carver, Beverly, and Girard, fed the 2 high schools. And most folks who went to Girard went to Northview. Most of the folks, I guess, that went to Beverly, I'm not sure about the others. Maybe there was, depending on the part of the city where you lived, determined what school that you'd be in high school. Had you ever visited Northview during middle school years? Did you know how big it was? Was it intimidating, or did it just seem pretty natural to come over there and start?
It seemed pretty natural. Seemed pretty natural.
Well, you were, I guess, the fall of '81, you were a sophomore, so you were on the JV and varsity teams that year. Did you get any varsity action during that season?
I did at spots.
What was it? Where did they have you playing?
I would be at linebacker.
And who was ahead of you? Who on the depth chart?
Ooh. Say David Fields. I'm gonna tell you who I would watch, and he would keep his legs moving. I want to say Scott Patterson, Red Man. Look, by far a very, very good linebacker, probably one of the best at Northview that I've seen. I would watch him because I'm gonna say again, I was real new at it, so a lot of things that I learned by watching and listening to Coach Johnson. And one thing, if you can listen and then read a defense, they taught me how to read a defense, how to call the defense, and know what my responsibility was, and then I just go to the ball.
And talk a little bit about Coach Johnson's influence as one of your coaches. You know, we all, I guess most folks called him Coach Johnson. A few called him Bubba, and then even others may have had other choice names for him. But what he was a great coach, a nice friend, a good friend. He always was encouraging. But talk about your experiences with Coach Johnson.
He was a coach, a teacher, and a good friend. Good professional friend. He would take me places like on a Monday or Tuesday. We didn't have a game. He would take me there. I would meet him at KFC. We'll sit there, eat chicken, and just talk for a little bit. You know, I thought, okay. And it was cool. It was cool. Now, how many times we did it, I don't know. But in my life as a kid, I think it was every Tuesday. But it probably wasn't. But if you ask me, I think we did it after a game, because the games were if I can still remember, our JV games were on Monday night, I want to say, and I forgot when our 9th grade games were. But yeah, he very good coach. I can still remember him in film room because we watched a lot of film. Hook curl, always hook curl. Because you know your quarterback, when you get into the 3 steps and you're looking for that ball, I have to go to the hook curl. So I still remember that hook curl. Get your hands up. Yep. But very good.
It's things like you just described about Coach Johnson meeting you at KFC. Those are things that aren't in the job description.
No.
Those are things that only good coaches, the coaches who care, and frankly, every one of those coaches we had back in the day would do stuff like that and never even be asked.
Yes, yes. I think he called them implied tasks. Implied tasks. Very,
well,
yeah.
You know, and that frankly, that's what makes for a successful program. It makes for a good locker room environment and culture. And that's some of the things that I always appreciated about my Northview years. What Kenneth, let's get away from football for just a minute. Let's get into 9th and 10th and 11th grades. What was it about Northview that made you proud to be there? Were there certain teachers, certain classes? Was there a vibe in the school that you enjoyed or have fond memories of?
Yeah, I think every day was a fun day at Northview. Every day was a fun day at Northview. And you had so many young folks, even teachers with a sense of humor. Now, I cannot remember all those names right now, but I know I would go to one wing, which is my history wing, and one of my teachers smoked a cigar. And you know what? I said, it smells good. I wouldn't smoke one, but it smells good. And he's a good teacher. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I cannot think of his name. But he would smoke a cigar. But again, so much humor. We had an awesome principal with a lot of spirit. We had some good counselors, really good counselors.
How about those pep rallies? Those are something to remember.
You know, if I could go back, I would like to. Do we have any of those on recording? We should have recorded those.
We do. We've got a couple of them on my YouTube channel, and I've posted them. Yeah. Man,
the pep rallies was like, I'm thinking, it's like they had all day to prepare for it because it was just so big.
Yeah, they were productions.
Yes.
Between the band doing its thing and the cheerleaders doing their skits and things, I could not imagine a concert being louder in that gym than the student body was by the time Dr. Smith finished his chant.
Yes, and then add the ROTC in there too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. I was like, wow.
Those are some good innocent days, weren't they?
Man.
And at least for me, by the time that ended, I didn't want it to end, but by the time it ended, now it was time for us to go to the movie, get food, and then get your game face and mind right. But what special times those were back in the days. People, tell me if you think this is as well, that the kids of the last few decades who didn't have that same school spirit, didn't have that same school vibe, if you will.
Right.
And frankly, the teachers were just as enthusiastic and supportive as anybody. I just think all of that came together in the 80s. All of it. Yeah.
And it's hard to do that, but we did it so easy.
Now, when you weren't practicing and working out and doing football responsibilities during the school year, did you play other sports? Did you have other activities that kept you occupied? What other things did you get into?
No, I did not. That I can think of.
Did you work? Did you get in trouble? Did you?
No.
What kind of things?
My mother don't play that. Miss Owens don't play that. I did do a little work at times because my grandparents lived in Abbeville. So I would go spend time with my grandfather.
What did he do?
My grandfather is a sharecropper. He's a farmer. And I would go up there and then I would help him with corn, okra, peas, help him in the field. Yeah, that's
not easy work. Now, did Brother Richard also go with you?
He went with me too. You get one, you get two.
That's right.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
And I suspect that your grandparents, they probably meant business too when it was time to get some work done.
Oh yes. Yeah. We would pick it and shell it and put it in bags and freeze it.
Well, Kenneth, your sophomore year, the team reaches the pinnacle. They capture the 4A state crown, and you've still got 2 more years of high school eligibility to go.
Yes.
Coming back that next year, your class, the juniors that year, still had a very strong group of athletes, Woo, Doug Parker, et cetera.
Right, right.
It didn't quite get back to the top. And it's very hard to repeat. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have memories of your juniors and senior years of playing? And was it frustrating, or did you not feel that way as you're going through the seasons? It may have been successful, but not as successful.
Yes. It was frustrating. I think I kind of sent it to you the night we got beat really bad at Rip Hughes Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like the longest day of my life.
Well, Kenneth, let me take you to open the season in 82.
Mm-hmm.
The game you're thinking of, Americus just ran us out of the field, 36-0.
Yep.
Then we beat Prattville the next game, 20-19 at home. And then we beat Sidney Lanier, so starting to get some momentum. And you guys ended up with a 7-3 year, but losses to Enterprise, at Enterprise.
Yep.
At loss. And then Dothan won 10-0. So I know ending your junior year, even though the team was 7-3, didn't make the playoffs, but that did not, you beat Carroll the next week, but it still didn't end on a great note, going from 13-1 to 7-3. Did that, I guess, did it leave a sour taste in your mouth headed to your senior year?
I didn't think about it. I was too young to think about it like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I was too young to think about it. I was thinking about probably more of my studies and my education, but I didn't think about it. I know it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah. And then your senior year, which would have been the fall of 83, you guys go 6-5, but you did beat Dothan High that year. So that had to have been a good feeling as a senior to beat Dothan High 21-14.
It felt really good. I want to say, if I can remember, we didn't lose any homecoming games. That was important.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Kenneth, you get through your senior year at Northview, and it's time to graduate. Did you have aspirations of college or military? What was next for you in line?
I had applied to go to aviation school in Fort Rucker through a military contract, and it was being funded for me to go in and sit down and learn how to repair helicopters. So I wanted to do that. That was my first choice, and then that contract went away, and then I was looking at working at UPS, and I'm just so young. I wasn't even 19, so I don't think they was looking at me close. Mm-hmm. So I did a few semesters out there at Wallace College, and I worked, and then I had a job. Tell you what, I had a job working in surgery at Flowers Hospital. Yes, I worked in surgery at Flowers Hospital, and I really, really enjoyed it, around a lot of professionals, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners. And I was just so young. I'm 20 years old, and they seen a lot of potential in me. Mm-hmm. And I was still in school, had a good time, worked at Flowers, had a great schedule. I could study while I was at the hospital at times between patients, which was great. But I wanted to be outside. So kind of slowed down for me a little bit. And then January 20th of 1987, the military was my third choice. Mm-hmm. So I joined the military.
Let's pause your story right there, and we're going to come back to that. Mm-hmm. But I totally skipped over some of your notes that we have got to get into because there's some good stuff.
There you go.
Talk about the boxes and the tape.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. Coach Harry Wayne Parrish had these tapes. Now, if I can find them, I want to share them with you later. But I don't know what my mother did with them. But these tapes were 5 tapes. I really believe those tapes and those boxes and our workout were just so structured. And when I'm going to go to the boxes real quick. When I first seen those boxes, I said, what are we going to do with these boxes? And I want to say what Coach John said, you're going to be able to jump from the floor to that box.
What Kenneth is talking about are these plywood boxes that, Kenneth, if you didn't land, what happened to your shins and your kneecaps?
Pain. And the pain would be long. You know, it's like you hit it and your pain will stay with you for a while, then it disappears.
And then you likely are losing the first or second layer of skin as well as you straight down it. But these were training. This was part of our training.
Yes.
Oh, they were. Oh, I did not. Ooh, I don't know anybody who enjoyed those things.
The boxes. Yes. So we would do the boxes. Coach Hicks was part of it too. We would do the boxes. Let me talk about the dips. We would do the dips outside, right? And then at night, those tapes, you would play them. And it talks about having goals, attainable goals, and how you want to go about to reach your goals. And it was 5 tapes, and it talks about the guy who broke the 4 miles, the guy who ran a mile in less than 4 minutes or something. Yes. Talked about that. Those tapes.
What motivation.
Right. And those boxes had a lot to do with the work we put in to win a championship.
And Kenneth, I want to talk about, because anybody who was on the team back in the day and even the years just after, they remember the coaches walking off of practice one day. That's one of the more memorable, and not for a good way, more memorable days at Northview back in the 80s. What do you remember about that?
Yes. They did it twice that I remember, that when I played. And when they did it, man, it hurt. It hurt. Y'all don't want it. Y'all wasting our time. Let me know when y'all ready. We're out of here.
And they physically walked up to the gym. They were gone.
They were gone.
Yeah.
They drove off and everything. I'm like, wow.
What I remember, at least one, is that it became a seniors-led meeting that kind of pulled the team together. Now, that might have been after you graduated one of my times, but I remember that specifically. And if any of you watching, Pat Fitch or anybody, Joseph Johnson, hey guys, if you remember any of that, share your memories. But I got a couple of more for you. What about getting your grade after performance on a game? Coach Johnson or Coach Hicks or Griffin giving you grades. You remember this?
I love to walk in there to see what my score was. That's the first thing I did. When I walked in and knew it was posted on the fence, I go in there with my fat finger and find my name and go over there and do all that reading. I was like, okay. It gave you a snapshot of what you need to work on.
Yeah.
It works. That's your evaluation.
How about across the street at Fireballs?
Yes.
Or across the highway?
Yes.
Man, they don't make stores. They don't have them like that anymore.
They don't. And I love them folks over there. I would come over there and I would ask for something and I would just get one. And if I didn't have enough, I said, could you put that on Coach Johnson tab?
I wonder if he's paid that tab off. Oh, we got my.
I would be with him when he paid the tab off too. Sometime I would go over there with him. He like, I'm over here to pay my tab. I'm like,
We got
Yes,
my
sir.
fullback. We got LaRue Freeman in the house. Hey, Rue, good to see you, bud. All right, I got to ask you, Reggie White, Red Man Tobacco, Selma game.
Yes. You know, in these games, we're supposed to be quiet. Nothing don't need to be said. And for some reason, Reggie received some red band from somebody else. Now, I don't think Reggie ever had it before.
He probably got it from Paul Dunseth or one of those guys.
Right. He put it in his mouth. He chewed on it, and I think he swallowed a little bit.
Uh-oh.
And he didn't feel good. He didn't look good.
Did he play that night, or was he still sick?
I believe he played that night.
Well, it doesn't take much to get sick off that stuff, particularly if you're not used to it. Guys, I've got Kenneth Owens, number 45, class of 1984. He's in San Antonio, and we're just running through some old memories. Kenneth, any other memories that you want to share before we fast forward to the your entry into the military?
Oh, no. No, I'm fine. But thank you for asking.
Well, certainly. Oh, I got one more, I see.
Okay.
How about the library newspaper?
Yes. Hey, thank you for doing that, because I didn't print anything up. I was trying to go off memory. Yes. One thing about that library and that newspaper, I forgot when they post the rankings of the schools. You know, like 3A, 1 through 10, 4A, 1 through 10, 2A, 1 through 10. And I made it a rhythm of myself. And I think a few other players, we would go in there and open that paper up and look and see where we was at. And I remember one year we played Viger. Yeah. And it was homecoming. It was ranked 3. I think we was ranked 4. And I think we beat them 7-6. I don't know. I know we didn't lose.
Hold on, I can find that. I've got all the I've got a, I certainly don't remember I don't have it in my memory.
Yeah, I remember that game. I said, man, we can't lose no homecoming game. I don't care who they are.
10-0 over Viger. This would have been your junior year. This was September of '82. We got Woo scored in the first quarter, and Alan Lopez kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter. And you were so right. That is homecoming.
Yep. I said, man, we can't lose homecoming.
But to shut out Viger, you guys still had a staunch defense. That's for sure.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I think we was even better when it was in the 30. When we was on our 30, when our backs were against the goalpost. Yeah. We really locked in and communicated.
Kenneth, you graduated spring of '84. In '87, the military comes calling. What branch of the military? Take us a little bit on that journey.
Well, I could have went into Marines. The Navy guys were coming to the house, but I chose the Army. So I had signed up as early as Thanksgiving, but I didn't tell my mother until after New Year's that I was leaving. And I wanted to be outside. So they showed me one of them action-packed videos, and they got me. So I joined. I went to Oklahoma in January 20th. I had a head full of hair. And they had fun cutting that off. And there was a lot of snow on the ground. So I was there, basic training, AIT, and permanent party.
And you were in the military until you retired in 2012. Is that
2012.
Right?
Yep.
So you had 25 plus years in.
25 plus years. Yep.
Oh, well, thank you. If I haven't said it lately, thank you for your service and what you did for our country.
Thank you. It's a team effort. I enjoyed it.
Well, talk a little bit about that. Playing organized team sports and being in the military clearly has lots of similarities.
Yes.
And there are many lessons along the way. But as a former high school football player who then joins the military, did you find some of that transition because you had been part of a team? Did you find it to be easier than maybe some who had never been part of organized sports? Did you remember going through any of that in your thought process?
Yes, yes. Look, I'm gonna say that I had fun. It was very organized, team effort. One thing about the branch that I chose and the skills that I chose, I had to continue to work out. Mm-hmm. Okay, I had always worked out. I had to sharpen my skills. They gave me the opportunity to sit down and learn. I enjoyed that. Yeah, it was very rewarding. I was never in the same place more than 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to be a part of a lot of great conversations and professionalism.
Were you able to travel to all parts of the world in those 25 years?
Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, I know you were in Korea and won a championship at some point while you were over there.
Yes. And believe me, I was excuse my language, a shit talker that time.
Share a little bit about that experience.
I was a shit talker that time. Because I'm going to say this, Bernard. I represent Young America, Northview, and Dothan. Mm-hmm. And no matter where I was at, people knew I was from Alabama. And I was from Dothan. Mm-hmm. So I talked a lot of trash. And I remember our Northview practices. Mm-hmm. And I would dial in.
Well, Kenneth, how much contact? You were playing in a contact flag football league
yes.
in South mm-hmm. Korea, representing mm-hmm. the 2nd Infantry Division. Mm-hmm. And in 1992, you guys won the championship. How much contact was there?
Look, if you get to the sideline and I make an effort to get your flag and don't get it, you're going to feel something. It was that kind of game. Yes. Yes.
Well, yes. I'm wondering if it, and I don't know how it compares, but yes, I'm wondering if you conjured the same emotions from your 81 team winning the state title 11 years later, albeit halfway across the world in a different version of the same sport. Mm-hmm. Did it have any similar feelings for you?
It felt good to win. Mm-hmm. It felt good to win. And I'm going to say this. If you play long enough, you can look in people's eyes and know they fear you. Mm-hmm. You know? And I had fun. It was great. It was great. It was great.
What, Kenneth, where was in all your travels over those 25 years, did you have a particular parts of the world that you enjoyed the most, that you thought was either the nicest or the prettiest areas of that you'd visited?
South America. Very pretty in South America. I'm not talking about the resorts. Mm-hmm. I'm saying places that you can go down there that's not been so westernized, has a more of a Western culture. Mm-hmm. You meet good folks down there, you get the real bread, you get the real vegetables, the juices. It's people everywhere, and very, very receptive, mm-hmm. beautiful landscape. And I'm gonna say this right here. As bad as Iraq is, there's part of Iraq that's very beautiful. And I've been there too. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I had to look through it in a different lens. So I did 3 tours.
Wow.
3 tours in Iraq. I did an 8-month, 12-month, 15-month. And I'm gonna say this: my last tour, it was 10 of us, right? And the group of guys, I'm gonna say this: very diverse. Mm-hmm. Very diverse, very professional, very good at what we do, mm-hmm. right? And if he said this and we went places, I'm gonna say this: if we went places and we would get good intel, because I believe in our intel, mm-hmm. they say, Kenneth, they're not gonna fight you. Guess what? Not saying you want that, the intel was good. Now, if they say prepared, it's gonna be a fight, it was a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are surprises, but I'm going to say about my peers, my buddies, 10 of us. One of them, I'm going to tell you, my boss looked like the Marlboro man. Okay, remember the Marlboro guy with the cowboy hat, smoked a cigar? That's him. That's him. Mm. Great guy. Hey, look here. You see right here?
Yeah.
This is the team I was a part of. Mm. Hey, and he'll smoke a cigarette or a cigar, but when it's time to go, we move it. Great team.
While you were in the military, did you ever use some of that high school training and mentality to help you get through some of the tough times?
Yes. I never forget. I'm a safety guy, and I'm up in the air as high as you can go on the obstacle course. All right, we're trying to build confidence with these young soldiers. I got a guy 275 pounds. He's all the way to the top, as high as he can go, and he say he can't come down. All right, we ain't got nothing. Well, we got something down here to catch him, but he say he can't come down. Mm-hmm. So I'm already on my way up there, and I'm up to the top, and I talk to him. I look him in his eyes. Mm-hmm. I gained his confidence. I said, man, just relax, breathe. We're going to go down here together. Mm-hmm. You know, had that real soft conversation. I say, put your hands on me, and we're going to take it step by step. Mm-hmm. I've had a few of those moments. Mm-hmm. Yes. You have to be able to listen. Experience is everything. Going back to them Cougar days, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say thank you for letting me have all those snaps on defense as a ninth grader so I can rep as a junior, a sophomore, junior, and a senior. Because, like I said, I had no snaps prior to ninth grade. But somebody listening to you, able to follow instructions, then you gain their confidence and they believe in you. That's what it's about, having folks to believe in what you can do to impact them.
Just like you're a coach yourself.
Yeah, just like you coach yourself.
Kenneth, what has it meant to you over these years to remain in contact with guys like Charles Bronson and Woo Woo, DJ, those guys?
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. I'm going to mention this other person too, Bruce Johnson. It's a blessing. I mean, anytime I can call, they answer or they'll text. And Bruce will be at a Houston. He will be at a game in Houston watching the Spurs, and he'll poke at me because he know I'm in San Antonio. Hey, we beating up on the Spurs tonight. I say, yeah, y'all got us. And it's great to be in contact with these young men. And I'm gonna say like, ain't nothing changed but the year, and maybe a little eye gray. But that's
and there's, when we were all together a few weeks ago, I heard mostly truth being shared. I don't know if it's a little bit of memory loss or the way we want to remember it, but it was like you had never missed a day with some of these guys. And that's just how it is with teammates.
Yes.
But mentioning Bruce was one of a kind. He is sorely missed. I was so fortunate to have him on the show a couple of years ago. And gosh, I could have talked to that fella for hours, just hours. And he was so proud of his son, who at the time was playing at North Texas, and went on and kept playing. But Kenneth, we've got a few more minutes. But, when I mentioned some of those teammates from back in the day, it brought an immediate smile to your face. And those are simple times, weren't they?
Yes.
They were innocent times.
And no responsibility. Not like what we have now, right?
Well, talk a little bit about, and we've touched on it a little bit, but talk about life in Dothan in the 80s. It was so simple back then. No internet, no phone, none of that stuff.
Yes.
But what was it that made it fun during your childhood?
My brother, Richard, myself, all my classmates in Young America, because I didn't drive a car all the time. So I would walk. And I'm going to say this, Woo might remember this. I would go to Mr. Parker's house with our boom boxes, and we would record music.
All right, I got to pause because we got some young people. What's a boombox, Kenneth?
The boombox is stereo with the sound, with the cassette where you record. You put the jacks on it. I can go from one boombox to another one. It's like a Panasonic radio. Let me be clear. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And those bad boys could be, I mean, they could be huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you'd go over to the Parkers and dub some music, huh?
Yeah. I have music because I didn't say this part. I would play baseball, but before baseball season was over with, when school was out, I would go to New York and spend time with my father too. So I got a lot of time with my father. So while I'm up there, I would record the music from the radio stations up there that we couldn't hear down here.
And that was before any version of rap music made it down south.
I would have that.
Gang and all those guys, that music had not come south into Alabama at that point.
Yes, I had Rappers Delight. Mm-hmm. Yes, I came down with all that.
And what part of New York was your dad in?
Mount Vernon, New York.
That's the home.
Yeah.
Money earning Mount Vernon.
Vernon. Yes. My uncle, my uncle ice cream shop is on that video with Heavy D. That's on my father's side, my great uncle.
Nice. Well, it must have been a real contrast for you. And did Richard go as well up to New York?
We traveled in two. My mom never separated us.
You got one, you got the other.
Got the other one.
But it must have been a real contrast being up in New York during part of that time of your life and then coming back home. Not that it was, I don't know if it was a faster paced life or just a different vibe or whatever up in New York, but it certainly was, I'm assuming, a different way of life in Alabama back in young America.
It is. I'm going to say this. When I was in New York, I didn't, what I'm trying to say is, I would go from house to house. I knew nothing about them folks on the streets. Let me say that. So my mom always had structure everywhere we went, and it worked.
Even when Mama wasn't there, Mama was still there.
Yep.
Well, Kenneth, in our closing few minutes, I guess talk a little bit. You've hinted on this. We've talked about a little bit about the impact that coming from Dothan, coming from Northview has had on your life all these years.
When I go anywhere, no matter what job I do, I represent the folks of Dothan, Young America, and Northview High School. I am a Northview graduate. All right. Before you can do anything, you got to crawl before you can walk. And then if you're walking pretty good, then later you're going to get into a run. It's always good to be around folks that knew you probably before you knew yourself in there somewhere, and the fact that the school seen the potential that they have in all of us. And I'm gonna say that without education, it's tough. It's tough. Now, I didn't think about ever playing college football or being a professional football player, but I thought I could be a pretty good athlete, and an athlete can do more, can be a good student athlete while I'm at Northview. And that was big, and I'm gonna add to this. I vaguely remember that your grades need to be good to play football. That's a good thing.
It did provide structure. It taught us about priorities.
Right. Time management. Absolutely. Time management.
Yeah. Well, Kenneth, I can't thank you enough, bud. This has been a lot of fun for me. I hope that
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Some of these memories has been good for you tonight. Guys,
yes, sir.
This is why I do this show. We're sharing the stories. We're creating the oral history. We're sharing it. And it's guys like Kenneth Owens, who's part of that 81 team that, his class had such athletes, so many good athletes, and even better people, frankly.
Better people. Yeah.
Better people. But I'm going to keep getting folks to come on Wednesday nights, and please keep coming back at 7:00. Kenneth, it was so good to see you a couple of weeks in Dothan, and I truly hope that our paths cross again in person one day soon.
Yes, it will. It will. I will reach out to you when I come to Birmingham.
Come on.
All right. We'll have a cup of coffee.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good night, and hope we catch you next Wednesday. Conversations with Cougars.
Thank you. All right, brother.